Yeah, feeling good to say the least, I would say. Maybe feeling great, or maybe just feeling normal. This is what the Rangers expected to do this season. Hi there. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here. Jeff Wilson there. We're both seek the comfort of our homes today as we get ready for a big week of late night baseball. Kat is taking care of us here with all the things that she does and does so well. So we appreciate her. We appreciate you. Hang out with us, chat with us. It's a huge week, not only because of this West Coast road trip, but of course, because of the trade deadline. We get into that a lot more later. We've got a whole segment devoted to what Jeff has written and what we are hearing about what the Rangers might do. But Jeff, we've got to start with the best homestand, at least winning percentage wise, of 9 games or more in franchise history.
I mean, they couldn't have drawn it up any better. I mean, not realistically, of course they could have gone 9-0, and really they could have won the game they lost. But
Easily.
man, to under the circumstances, to come out and do what they did, I would have been okay with 6-3 or even 5-4. 5-4 would have given them a 500 record. But gosh, 8-1. They're now 6 games above 500, tied for the last wild card spot, which is stunning. And really, they're only 4 games out of first place. The division's within grasp all of a sudden. It was 11 games 2 weeks ago. A little more than 2 weeks ago. So they've done everything that the front office needed to see them do, if not more. And so now they're firmly, obviously, going to be buying at the trade deadline, and just seems like everything's coming together at the right time. Now, these next 2 weeks are going to be tough. Angels, Mariners, Yankees, Phillies. It's going to be a tough 2 weeks, but that doesn't matter. The Rangers are contenders, and they're going to be adding pieces.
Yeah, because again, the last couple of weeks included other first place teams, which are the Tigers and the Astros at the time. Although it's funny because we've always said, Jeff, since the beginning of the year, we kind of know what this team can be, this Rangers team. We kind of feel like they're not clicking, especially the offense. We knew that. We've said it a million times, and you have been the champion of, look, Houston's going to hit a rough patch. And I'm kind of like, I wish I could say that with certainty, but every time you turn around, they got some no-name guy in there. But now with 18 players, Jeff, 18 guys on the disabled list, I'll be danged if they haven't run into that rough patch.
Yeah, in the series right before the All-Star break, kind of drove that home. The injuries and they were really just kind of faking it, with the guys that they had in their lineup, guys who were up from the minors and not really like great minor league players either, and a lot of part-time players. Their big offseason investment, Christian Walker, has struggled. They traded for Isaac Paredes, and that's worked out pretty well. Jeremy Pena's hurt though, and he was an all-star player. Yordan Alvarez still, MIA, and it's kind of messy. And they have Hunter Brown, great pitcher, and Framber Valdez, obviously really really good, but they're down a bunch of starters, and so this is the time to make hay. Now some of these guys are getting ready to come back. That's fine, but it seemed like it was being held together with tape and glue, and it just wasn't going to hold.
Yeah, and it obviously hasn't, and it's very interesting because, like you say, I mean, the Rangers less than a month ago were 11 games back in the American League West. They're now at 4. They've made up 7 games in that time, and in the month of July, the Rangers have just a silly good record. And in the month of July, they are averaging, Jeff, 5.8 runs per game.
Yeah, and I think it started. I've said this. It started that the second game at Baltimore on the 24th of June. They went out there, and the night before had been shut out, and then they won the game in extra innings. Played smart baseball. Sam Haggerty had that exciting sequence there where he drew a walk, stole 2 bases, and scored on a sac fly to tie the game after they'd given up the 3 homers to surrender a 4-0 lead. They went out and played well and scored a lot the next night. And even when they're losing those extra inning games to the Mariners and not the Blue Jays, the Orioles again, they were scoring a lot of runs in those games.
Yeah.
And then so in that aftermath, you have your bullpen that's tired, so it's pretty fragile. But really, after the San Diego series, when everybody caught their breath on that off day on the 7th, they went to the Angels. Offense was pretty good. They had 2 walk-off losses, which stunk, but you could kind of feel it. And then the Astros series, just good baseball. And then so when they went into the All-Star break after winning that series, there was some definite momentum. And then it manifested itself. It carried over, and lo and behold, now we're talking about the playoffs.
Amazing. And yeah, playoffs. I'm talking about playoffs. So amazing that what we're seeing is guys just doing what we thought they'd do. David Murphy said this in the game, in the broadcast yesterday. He said, this lineup, he said, at the beginning of spring training, I looked at how this lineup could set up, and I thought, there is not one breather in the lineup. And you and I both know there were about 8 breathers in the lineup for a long time this year. But yesterday in particular, it was one of those games. I mean, that at bat by Wyatt Langford in the first inning, where he had 2 strikes on him and the bases loaded and had to come through and did, that was huge.
Absolutely. And that's the difference. The Rangers weren't doing that for 2 months. They could not get a clutch hit. And, it looked like, oh, geez, they're going to waste this great opportunity because Langford hasn't been hitting real well. But he goes and puts the ball in the gap, and it's 3-0. And then, Jack Leiter gave one right back, and it could have been worse. But then they kept adding on, and then and it was up and down the lineup. Guys who have been struggling, Josh Young, for instance, came through. Wyatt, as he talked about, came through. It's just even Josh Smith has struggled a little bit, and he came through. So when this team is hitting 1 through 9, when the bottom of the lineup is hitting, they're going to be really, really hard to keep down. And then this is really, you're not getting a ton from Simeon out of the All-Star break, not a lot from Garcia out of the All-Star break. But they're still finding a way to score enough runs, and at this point, enough runs with the pitching staff still leading the majors in ERA. 4, and you're going to win. That's the magic number still, I think.
Yeah, by a ridiculous amount, the pitching staff is leading in ERA by like a third of a run at this point in the season. It's just amazing how much better the Rangers pitching staff is than everybody else's right now. It continues to be. They're planning on improving it some, at least from the bullpen standpoint. But I also really liked on the home. Well, so many things we liked on the homestand, but I really liked the Kamar Rocker start the night before, where he clearly just didn't have it, right? But he held them to only 3 runs. He fought through it. He got to 95 pitches in 4 innings, for God's sake. He couldn't find the plate, but, he fought. And I thought that was a really big learning moment for a young guy.
Yeah, and I think that Leiter learned something yesterday too. When you pitch with a lead, when you have a lead, you're supposed to attack the strike zone.
Yeah.
And he comes out in the second inning, and what does he do? He walks the first 2 guys. So then Jonah Heim goes out there, and basically Jonah said he told him, trust your stuff, throw it down the middle. And because Jack's stuff is really effective in the strike zone. And from there he was great. Didn't allow a run in his final 4 innings. Was on the attack. only walked one guy in the final 4 innings after walking two in the second. And he ended up with 7 strikeouts. So I think that mentality. Okay, it's 8-1. Make him put the ball in play, make him hit it. Don't walk anybody. Be aggressive in the strike zone. That can pay off for him in closer games. So I think that's an opportunity for him to move forward a little bit too, with the not being able to put guys away and the times where he gets too fine. He doesn't need to be too fine. He just needs to throw the ball around the plate, and he's going to be in pretty good shape. You look at this homestand. DeGrom and Evaldi only started once apiece. The Rangers won with their other 3 guys in the rotation. So that's another encouraging thing. You saw the bullpen turn over a little bit with Luke Jackson getting ultimately released, signed on with the Tigers, but John Gray replaces him, pitches twice, and pitches really, really well. I have a feeling we'll talk about John Gray a lot this week. But this is what they envisioned in spring training, and now, and honestly, I don't think they envisioned the pitching being this this good, especially the bullpen. So I think this is beyond what they possibly envisioned, but they always thought they'd be contenders.
Yeah, they did, and they're hitting like contenders right now. We didn't mention Jonah Heim among those guys who's on an uptick offensively, but what a job he's been doing at the plate as well as behind the plate. And it is kind of interesting. He's been pressed into more service as a defender, right? As a catcher, and he's hitting better. And we remember 23, he did that. It's like we want to give Jonah rest, and yet when we give him too much rest, it's a law of diminishing returns,
Yeah, and Higashioka should be able to go tonight. So that's a good thing, because too much of Jonah, the thinking was in the offseason, leads to less of Jonah. So the reverse is what they were going for. But I tell you what, something else to consider at the trade deadline. Rangers could really use another catcher. They're pretty hurt. They're hurting on the catching depth. So we'll get to that in a minute. But Jonah having the big thing, that the takeaway from 23 was that Jonah had veteran guys supporting him. He had Garver and then Austin Hedges, who were able to give him feedback. He didn't really have that last year. But Kyle Higashioka, on the other hand, provides that. So maybe that's another thing that helps Jonah, stay fresh and mentally sharp and productive offensively.
Yeah, it sure has been working. Again, his hit to tie things up on Saturday night was almost as clutch as what Wyatt Langford's was, maybe more clutch than what Wyatt Langford's was. And that it's not a guy who earlier this season you would expect to do that in that situation.
Yeah, and but he does kind of have the knack for coming up big, Jonah. You can think about opening day in 24, when he had the bad sequence behind the plate, but then he won it in extra innings against the Cubs. So he has a lot of flair for the dramatic. Marcus Semien said that. So maybe he is one of the guys you want to up there. Up, the dogs are barking. Barking.
The dogs are going crazy. So we've got lots more to talk about on this show. We'll get the dogs' opinions on the trade deadline, and we will also chat with you about that. Coming up next, we'll talk about this road trip, because when we were starting this homestand, Matt Hicks and Dave Raymond and I were chatting, and Hicksy said if the 5-5 road trip before the All-Star break will be wasted if they don't go 6-3. Well, they went better than 6-3, so it wasn't wasted. But now you don't want to waste this 8-1, and so the road trip is so important. So we talk about that next on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
John, I feel like I'm stepping on your turf here talking about Game Time.
I swear to you.
I hope Nicole's okay with this, but Game Time is our favorite app for the secondary ticket market, and you can get all kinds of tickets, whether it be concerts, sporting events, comedy shows, theater. You can get it not just in DFW, but across the country. You can avail yourself to events if you're on vacation or something like that. Game time. If you look right now, the next Rangers opponent is the New York Yankees. And that's
Yeah.
always a tough ticket. And the Yankees, you can from that game on Monday, $30 you can get into the Globe Life Field to see the pinstripers, who and Rangers might be catching them at the right time with that Aaron Judge fella on the
Yeah.
injured list. But anyway, game time. You download the app, use the code DLS, and you get $20 off your first purchase.
Hey, and the reason I didn't do game time this time, sorry, Nicole, is because Shady Rays. I'm like the spokesman for Shady Rays. We've got 2 pair. I'm about to get a third. Again, as I've told you all, they gave us a pair, and I liked them so much I bought a pair. They're great. I dropped the OGs yesterday on the cement again, and no scratch, nothing. And the great thing is, even if they had been scratched, I would have just sent them back in, and Shady Rays would have repaired them. And as I've mentioned a few times on here, it's shocking that if I screw up and lose them, then Shady Rays replaces them. So I'm almost tempted to do that just to see, like, are you really doing this? But anyway, I'm not going to because I like them too much. You should go to shadyrays.com, get yourself a pair of polarized sunglasses and all these amazing styles. And if you use the code DLLS35, you get 35% off your brand new Shady Rays. All right, so this road trip, Jeff, we've looked at it for a long time. You're going to Seattle because it's at the trade deadline, so it's been kind of a red letter sort of a road trip anyway. It becomes
Yeah.
even more important now, and obviously the Rangers have been able to put a little distance because of this homestand between themselves and the Angels. Although the Angels are still kind of nipping at their heels, but they've actually caught the Mariners. And
Right.
I just love, to your point about needing DeGrom and Eovaldi only once in that homestand, I love that you start this series in Anaheim with DeGrom and Eovaldi.
Yeah, that'll work. That's gonna get you off on the right foot for sure. No matter who the Angels throw, the Rangers are going to have the advantage. I haven't seen it. It was listed as TBA, I thought, but I'd also seen they might be starting that Jack Johanowitz fella again.
Yeah, who the Rangers are really good against.
They tattooed him. Then they get Kikuchi and Soriano, who are the Angels' 2 best guys, but the Rangers fared okay against them last time. And this is we've been saying it for a little while now. This is the why the Rangers think they can be a tough out in the playoffs. If they can start every series or find a way to be close to starting every series with DeGrom and Eovaldi, holy cow, that puts them in an unbelievable spot. It's going to be really hard to beat those guys, both of those guys. And I'm sure we said the same thing about Yu Darvish and Cole Hamels in 2016.
Sure.
But to have that 1-2 punch, it doesn't matter who the other team throws. The Rangers are going to love their chances, and so that's pretty cool. And then with them pitching Monday and Tuesday, it means they'll pitch the back end of the series against the Mariners. So this is those 2 guys give you a chance, and then our guy Patrick Corbin there on Wednesday, just love the guy. He's fantastic, and a good test for the rookies to open the series in Seattle. But they're in a good spot here. The Rangers are.
Yeah, they really are. They're in a great spot when you figure they get to start the road trip with so much confidence just from the homestand, but also knowing, I mean, I do believe, and we've talked about it on the show before, they walk out to the field with a greater amount of confidence and a better feeling about themselves as a team when Jacob DeGrom's starting.
Yeah, and he just uh, you just have to know when you walk into the clubhouse that day if you're a position player, take all the pressure off. We only have to score one or two. All right. Now it just so turns out that they're scoring him a ton of runs this year. Maybe that is what's behind it.
Yeah,
Because even when the Rangers weren't scoring runs and not supporting their starting pitchers, Degrom was somehow still getting the support. And it should be that thought process with Evaldi too. Like, this guy's not going to give up anything. We just have to have an okay day. We don't have to be great. We should be fine if we just give him a little support. So it's got to be a great feeling as a position player, as a manager. To be like, Jacob and Nathan are pitching these 2 games. We're not. Our losing streak's going to end, or our winning streak's going to continue. It's just going to be really, really hard to lose 2 in a row with those guys on the
so Jock Peterson has had some of his best baseball played, certainly in his native Southern California. So can
mound.
we hope that, maybe Jock, like everybody else, has begun to look like what we thought they were, what Chris Young thought they were? Can we hope for that out of Jock this series?
I it's kind of like Patrick Corbin at the start of the year. We were kind of holding our breath. Well, we thought Jock was going to be fine, but then he
Yeah,
you know he ends up hitting 132 before he gets hurt, um, and then goes on a 2-game rehab assignment. Comes out yesterday and goes over. He needs at bats, and this is something else that I thought of. And John, we're old school enough that guys used to go on long rehab assignments if they missed this much time.
right.
They'd be
Missed
gone
two
for a
months.
week.
2 months.
They would go down there and get 20 or 30 at bats, and now it's like 2 games, you're fine. And they're like, oh, he took live batting practice. That's not the same thing. You
Yeah,
know, the guys they bring in from the system are sometimes are guys who are in A ball. They're not bringing in major league
yeah,
pitchers to face them.
yeah,
So I think it's going to take a little while. Of course, the theory is he can't be any worse than he was,
right.
and you hope you hope that theory holds true. But I don't know. If he has a short leash or not. You would suspect coming off of injury he'll get some leash. But if by the end of this month it's not any better, it's time to sit him down. There's just no other way around it.
Right. And it's a hard decision to make because you're paying them a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, and it's tied up next year too. It's not just a 1-year deal. It's
Right.
2 years of this, and that needs to get fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's one of the things we'll talk about with regard to the trade deadline coming up in the next segment. The other thing we've got to discuss here is the fact that the second stop on the road trip, where you will join them, is Seattle. And that's just been a house of horrors for the Rangers, really throughout, I don't know, a long time, Jeff.
Yeah, and it's strange, and I've covered some bad Mariners teams, and even those teams seem to always, be a thorn in the Rangers' side. And Kyle Seager and
Yeah.
killing them all those years, even when the Rangers were the best team in the league, the division. He always found a way. They always found a way. It'll be interesting to see what they look like on Thursday and Friday, because they're in hot pursuit of
Yeah.
Eugenio Suarez. Though I tell you what, they had him once, and it didn't work out all that great.
No, no.
And maybe he could have found something since then. Obviously, it appears he has. He's been a tremendous player here in the last 162 games. His numbers are phenomenal. So we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do, and maybe they add some punch to their lineup. But they still don't score. They still don't score in that ballpark. They still pitch really well. I think their bullpen has showed some cracks this year. Munoz has been good, but not great. They're looking to get some more bullpen help in there. So there's opportunity to win the games. I wouldn't expect any high scoring games by any stretch. Um, and and maybe now that the Rangers' fortunes have turned, they're starting to get the good breaks, as opposed to everything seeming to go against them. Maybe they'll get a couple good breaks here at that ballpark. I haven't checked the weather, but I can assure you, even if it's 85 degrees, it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
There's just something about that ballpark. It's never warm.
Yeah, no, it's always chilly in there. And to your point with the thing we all have to remember as they face a staff like the Mariners throw out there, and they're going to face 4 of the 5 starters. So, and when you face a
Yeah.
staff like that, we can't expect necessarily 5.8 runs a game. Now, if the Rangers continue to do that type of thing, great. But it's unlikely that they will rake against a team like that.
Yeah, and yeah. So, but I think that going into the Seattle series, even if they weren't any good, you just don't see a lot of runs scored at that building.
Yeah,
But it'll be a little warmer, so theoretically the ball will fly a little more than it does in April and May when it's 40 degrees at first pitch. It's going to be, I just looked, it's going to be in the upper 70s for the whole series. Day game on Saturday and Sunday. So it'll be nice. But again, it's just not, for whatever reason, it's turned into the last place on earth the Rangers want to play.
yeah, no doubt about that. So they've got to, and again, they may be. We said Seattle may be bolstered by then by some trade deadline acquisitions, and certainly so might the Rangers be because the deadline is Thursday. And like we say, we've got a whole segment on that and some thoughts about it coming up. But I think that the road trip, especially given that what they come back with are the Yankees and the Phillies. I don't know. I mean, the reality is all the Rangers need to do, Jeff, is to just kind of keep taking these things one game at a time, one at bat at a time. I think they've finally gotten back to that and not sort of freaking out about the big picture, right? And just keep
Yeah,
doing our thing, keep doing our thing.
and I don't know that they ever freaked out. We kind of talked to Josh Smith about it, and he said nobody hit the panic button, and he gave a lot of credit to Simeon and Seager because they're veteran guys, and they recognize the true totality of a 162 game season. They didn't get off to great starts this season, those two guys, but they stuck with their routine and knew that it would come around. And that's what 162 games is such a long time. 56 games, which is what the Rangers have left, is a really long time too. So this isn't a time for them, just because they've gotten to where they've gotten on this homestand, they can't take their foot off the gas. They have to keep doing what they're doing, trying to maintain it, stick to the routines that have started working for them, whatever it is. And again, as you noted, I don't know, last week or the week before, the Rangers have the second hardest schedule in baseball by winning percentage in the second half. And, they took care of the Tigers. Okay, the A's and the Braves aren't very good. The Braves pitching's a disaster. My gosh. And then, but the Angels are a little bit better than people thought, but probably not as good as they were at the All-Star break. Mariners, okay. Yankees, Phillies, you go down the list. There's 2 more series with the Astros. This scheduled, and I still think there's a trip to Toronto in there somewhere. Got to go face the Mets. So I mean, there's some hard games, hard series coming up. But the Rangers are confident, and why wouldn't they be? And you would think that this team, now that things have been corrected, they understand what it takes now, and they aren't gonna. They will be able, if they backtrack, they'll be able to find the solution sooner.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think they've proven that they have that in them, as they have found some solutions at this point. And it really didn't just start with this 8-1 homestand. It really started, as Jeff has said, maybe on June 24th, which coincidentally is the first day that Corey Seager's on base streak began. But it may have
Oh.
for sure at the beginning of July. This thing got started. So anyway, trade deadline talk coming up next. Let's get to it. It's next on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We just got back from vacation, and John, I'm sure as it's been your experience, vacations are always more expensive than you planned.
100%.
And I bet the people at Monarch Money realize that, and they're going to help you plan for vacations, plan for your future, plan for college, just plan for the life you want to live, and not scrambling day to day, paycheck to paycheck, just squeaking by and surviving. No, these people are money experts. They're going to help you sort out your bills, your income, and make a plan to help you live your best life. And it's tricky. And for those of you out there who have kids, stuff comes up. Molly, our beautiful daughter, has to have three teeth pulled. Well, there's a little hit for you that you weren't expecting. It's those little things like that Monarch Money can help you with. And I tell you what, we're gonna seriously consider joining them, because if you go to monarchmoney.com to get control of your overall finances, and if you use the code DLLS, you get 50% off your first year. That's 50% off at monarchmoney.com with the code DLLS.
Yeah, love that idea. And one of the reasons I missed yesterday's show and we're home today is I got a little bad food on Saturday night. So I'm nursing a little food poisoning here. So I need a rugged road to keep my electrolytes and my water in, right? Gatorade and
Mm-hmm.
water has pretty much been my diet for the last 36 hours or so. And there's no cooler better than a rugged road cooler to keep all that stuff cold as you basically lay in the bed because you're so freaking tired from all that throwing up. And then you drink your Gatorade and you drink your water and you go back to sleep. But anyway, it keeps nice and cold. Rugged Road's a great cooler, built so well, built to last, easy, lightweight, it floats. There are so many things to like about the Rugged Road cooler. We love them. We know you will too. Go to ruggedroad.com and get 10% off your Rugged Road cooler with the code DLLS. So, trade deadline nigh upon us, Jeff. It's Thursday at 5 Eastern, right?
5 Central.
5 Central.
5 Central. Yes.
Right. 5 Central. So here we go. The Rangers, even at the beginning of the homestand, and I love that Chris Young essentially threw down the gauntlet and said, well, let's see which direction this team is headed. And if they head in the right direction, I'll do everything I can to make sure that we are, bolstered in that fight. And obviously, they did everything to force his hand, for lack of a better word. And so clearly, and we've been saying it for a long time anyway, but clearly, the Rangers are buyers.
Yeah, and at the deadline, with the momentum that they had kind of generated and the way things appeared to be going, I thought they would still be buyers. With the caveat being, if they tanked on that homestand, then maybe that would change things. But they did not tank. They did the absolute opposite. So now it's like, all right, what does this team need? Clearly, and it's not a secret. They need relief help. Nothing against the guys who are in there now, because they've been very good, but man, they've had to work a lot. These leverage relievers have had to do a lot of work, and from day to day. Yesterday was the 8-1 win was a blessing, because they were able to get through the game with only 3 pitchers and none of their high leverage guys, relievers. So you expect to have a full bullpen today, but the Rangers are really in management mode here. They're it's like, all right, they don't want to overwork these guys. They're trying to give them a lot of rest. We see the ice packs and whatnot in the clubhouse, and indications that who's sore this time of year, and what is sore. You're without Chris Martin because of his calf injury. That's a hard guy to replace. John Gray again, a wonderful addition there, and but are the Rangers going to try to trade him to free up some salary to help him get a couple of badass relievers? So we have to wait and see, obviously. But relief help is number one, number two, and number three on the list. A bench bat, preferably right-handed, is another possibility. I think again, a catcher is a possibility. Starting pitcher, from what I've heard, is not a possibility unless it just kind of falls in their lap. It'd have to be a situation where it would be a controllable pitcher, but somebody who would be a clear upgrade over the guys in the rotation now. And there aren't a lot of starters out there, so we'll see how that plays out. But I would expect two relievers to be added, and then a veteran kind of right-handed batter.
Well, and then the relief pitching, pool of players gets thinner every day. As today we get word that Emmanuel Clase is on administrative leave for investigation into sports betting, Jeff. So, there are a whole bunch of teams that want relievers, and guys, Bautista went off on the injured list last week, and now
Yeah.
Clase goes off because of this one. Less and less guys from which to choose.
Yeah. The Clase thing, it's disappointing. That they find themselves in this situation. And I think if a second name came out, it seems like he's been implicated by others involved in this thing. It doesn't look good for him. And the brief time he was with the Rangers, the takeaway was, oh man, he's talented, but he's dumb as a post. And if he did this and sacrificed his future, and is going to have to forfeit all this money, and his career's over, what an idiot. And then a large part of me says that, but then also, what does baseball expect now that they're in bed with all these gambling sites and whatnot? How do you it's hypocrisy 101. It's just you would think that guys would know. It's the rule that everybody's learned. Pete Rose. I'm sure Pete Rose was famous in the Dominican Republic too. But gosh, these guys are still out there doing it. And but to your point about relievers, Cleveland does have a guy named Cade Smith whose name is kind of out there. I would think that he would become their closer. Big guy, strikes out a lot of guys. Young guy, controllable guy. He would not come cheap in terms of prospects, but he would in terms of money. And I think that's the kind of guy the Rangers are going to have to go get if they're unable or decide not to move salary. The two guys that are out there are John Gray and Adolis Garcia. Saturday night, the Rangers don't win without Adolis Garcia and John Gray.
Right.
It's hard to. Can you upgrade over those guys? If you trade Gray, you're saving about a little over $4 million. If you trade Garcia, you're trading, I don't know, a little over $3 million. So that's $7 million. That pushes you to, let's say, 13 to 16 million below the luxury tax. That money can go pretty fast, and you've got to include incentives in that. You still got to pay off those incentives. So you never really know how much money a team has to work with. The Rangers, I'm sure, know. I don't think Ray Davis is going to budge on this one. I know he's budged in the past, but considering that the Rangers aren't division leaders at this point, they're the last wild card team. I don't know that he's willing to go over, but as one of the front office guys said, this is why we make the big money to figure these things out. And there are ways. If you trade prospects, trade a guy on the 40 man so that he doesn't count against your the CBT, the collective bargaining tax / the luxury tax. Trade a guy like Justin Foscue or Dustin Harris or Blaine Krim, guys like that, guys that you're going to have to consider DFAing anyway to get 60 day IL guys back eventually. So maybe try to move them. I would try to move Ezekiel Duran. I know he's got talent and is well liked, but he has to play every day to be effective, and the Rangers don't have that opportunity for him. And if you're gonna, if you're gonna use that spot, get a veteran infielder or call up Cody Freeman and just say the hell with it. We're going to go with this young guy who showed pretty well and who can catch. But I think that it's going to be tricky, and it's going to be tricky to create salary space, and it's going to be really hard to trade Gray and Garcia because they are contributors to this team.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, Cody Freeman, who hit 3 bombs yesterday, got back to the minor leagues and just went ahead and knocked 3 out of the yard. He's like, let me come back. But yes, that's the thing. Like, which guys would you be willing to part with at the minor league level? And I like some of the names that you mentioned. The Foscues, the Crims of the world, as good as they are, as good as they've shown, they just haven't been able to make their way, consistently at the big league level for the Rangers. Now they might be able to for another team, and that might get the attention. I mean, those are fairly high ranked prospects, so that would get the attention of the other teams. Because the reality is, and again, it depends on exactly what you're doing here. You have to trade a lot of money to get what we're talking about. If you're talking about a bat and 2 relief pitchers, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's just going to need to be a lot of money going the other way. Tyler Malley's not even available, right? Just because he's hurt.
No. Yeah, and he's not expected back until late August. So, that's a name nobody's going to want to go after. So, I mean, it's now you can get teams to pick up money. Let's say the Rangers want to trade for, let's say, I don't know, Sandy Koufax, and Sandy Koufax is owed $6 million the rest of the year. Well, the Dodgers could eat $4 million of that 6, but in exchange, you've got to raise the quality of prospect who you're sending back to them. So that's kind of the line the Rangers will have to be towing here. But I think that you got to go get relievers, and the good thing is if you don't go get a top reliever, a top closer like Duran, let's say from the Twins, or Pete Fairbanks from the Rays, although I don't think Fairbanks would break the bank. If you don't go get one of them and just go for these rental pieces, proven rental guys who are going to be free agents, they don't cost anything prospect wise.
Right. That's why I've been an advocate of the rental guys because of that. Prospect wise, you don't have to do much. And again, you're allowed to sign them, right? Even though they're rentals, you're allowed to sign them if you like them.
You can re-sign them, yeah.
So we always say they're rentals, but if you like the way the guy fit into your organization and everything, if a Bednar and a Iglesias comes here and you love the way they fit in, sign them.
Yeah. And a couple people, maybe it's just missed it doing it twice, have asked about Josh Sborz. And, I think Josh Sborz is going to be with the club at some point. but it's not 23 Josh Sports. His velocity is still hovering in the lower 90s. It's not going to get to the upper 90s. He and the Rangers have been informed by Keith Meister, who did the shoulder surgery, that Josh Sborz isn't going to be back to his peak velocity until next year.
Wow.
So the good news is the off speed stuff has been really, really good, and he's commanding his pitches. So if he can command, let's say he gets it to 93, 94, 93, 95, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be dominant. It's not going to be the big strikeout guy that the Rangers want. And so, you kind of look at these free agent, or I'm sorry, not free agent relievers, but the guys who are available at the deadline. It's like, who strikes out guys, yet knows where the ball is going. So, that even narrows the focus a little bit more. When the Rangers when they compare the bullpen from last year to this year, they had the guys who were really good strikeout guys, but they also tended to walk a lot of guys. This year's team, they don't walk a lot of guys. This year's bullpen doesn't walk a lot of guys, but they don't strike out a lot of guys.
Right.
And I still think that's the key missing piece to this bullpen is they don't have the guy who's going to come out and just, you got a runner on third and one out, you need a strikeout, and you have a guy who's going to come in and get it. So I'd like to see that piece added. And like your little hook short that you did, John. If let's just say, in grand illusion of grandeur here, that the Rangers go to the World Series. Do you want Robert Garcia closing out games for you? No. So you got to go get a guy.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge focus, and I trust CY on the evaluation of who might be available out there. So we'll be talking lots more about that throughout the course of the week. We'll probably dabble in some more trade stuff in the next segment as we clean things up next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And don't forget, our Die Hard special is on. It's a training camp special. We're so happy to offer you this opportunity once again. $36 to become a Die Hard. You get all the great stuff that is available by being a diehard. That is to say, most of it is the great stuff is behind the paywall. It's stuff to read. Jeff's been writing like crazy since he's been back from vacation. Clarence Hill's out there in Oxnard writing like crazy. Sam Nessler and Tim Cato are writing for the Stars and Mavs, respectively. Those guys are really closer than you think to getting cranked up. So for the regular season. So anyway, you really need to become a diehard. If you do become a diehard, you'll be able to avail yourself to 20% off this fantastic trip we've got coming up that would allow you to go to Las Vegas with the Cowboys in November, and you'd get to hang out with our Cowboys crew, including Pop in Vegas. So so much to like about being a diehard, 20% off of merchandise as well. So you click that, or scan that QR code right there, or either go to alldlls.com/join to become a diehard today.
Yeah, I like to refer to it, John, not as the training camp special, but as the trade deadline special.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. No, it applies to sports of all fans, fans of all sports. Whatever I just said, fans of all sports.
Yeah.
So Rangers fans, you can take advantage of the football deal too, and you'll get a free shirt. And you might as well join the club and get the same one that John and I are wearing today, the Hello Win column. I don't know if it's the lighting, John. Yours looks a little darker than mine.
It looks bluer. I know. I don't know why that is. I will say this: I'm not taking it off until they lose.
Oh, I like it.
Maybe.
I like it.
We'll see if they win tonight. I may haul off and wear this again tomorrow. I'll have to wash it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I have a pretty high tolerance for foul odors, but I would have, so you can get by tomorrow with it. And then, Wednesday I'll be on the road. So I guess it doesn't matter.
True.
Anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com. You can get all kinds of shirts. Get some other stuff too, like flags and sweatshirts and beer pint glasses if you like the beer, and the coffee cups and things like that. But it's a unique way to show your sports fandom and to show support for your team at store.allcitynetwork.com.
All right, so let's run through some of our cleanup items here as we begin to clean this thing up. And one of the things that I really, Jeff, don't like, and it was so prevalent when we were you in Cooperstown with me when Pudge went in?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we missed Adrian's 3,000th hit, which was just bad
Right.
luck, unfortunately. But the reality is, I wish there was a way I could sit there and just totally digest and watch the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, except that there's a Rangers game on at the exact same time, So
Yeah.
it's kind of tough. I've caught up today, and I loved Ichiro's speech.
It was
I would,
great.
yeah,
It
I'd
was
say he
great.
stole the show. I don't know that we've seen that kind of personality out of him, many times before, and that kind of humor. And so anyway, I mean we have, because we've seen the spots that the Seattle Mariners do that included him that were always funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, this was his own words. These were his own words, and he wrote them and he said them, and he's did it in English. And I loved everything about his speech. I couldn't believe, Jeff, how thin CC Sabathia is.
Hey, a lot of guys go the other way in retirement, but old
Right?
CC's looking pretty good. And
Yeah, he looks like he can still go.
yeah, no, I saw bits and pieces of the ceremony. However, last night at the rare opportunity to seize control of the television, I caught all I could catch was Ichiro's speech. It was terrific. Like you said, it was funny. He took a pretty good shot at the Marlins. I thought that was
I did
pretty
too.
funny. But and then the one guy who didn't vote for him, he made sure he mentioned that a couple times.
Yeah, and he said the offer to take him out for dinner is off the table now.
Off
He's
the
in.
table. Yeah.
Off the
Yep.
table.
That's out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Abby and I talked about this yesterday, and I think that everybody who submits a ballot should have to make it
Yeah.
available. There should be
Yeah.
no balloting and anonymity. I know it's a hallmark of our democracy, but the Baseball Writers Association and the Hall of Fame are not that important, and so everybody should make their ballots publicly available.
Yeah, yeah, it was a fun weekend. It was great to see David Parker up there giving, the speech that Dave wrote, including the poem there. That was
Yeah.
fantastic and heartrending, really, because it's been less than a month ago, or right at a month ago that
Yeah.
Dave Parker
Yeah.
died. So
Yeah.
that was kind of sad. But and Billy Wagner, yeah, I know you'd been a champion of his of late, and I was really glad to see that he, his emotions were they were real too.
Sure. And he was emotional when he got the call,
Yeah,
in January, and it's a big deal for these guys. You're in a very select group, and like I mentioned yesterday, closers and designated hitters are not at all well represented in the Hall of Fame, and for Billy Wagner to join the only unanimous inductee ever, Mariano Rivera, Trevor Hoffman, Lee Smith, Bruce Sutter. I know I'm forgetting guys, and I apologize, but there aren't a lot of them. Is
no,
what I'm getting
and
at. And
Billy's
and
the
this is
first lefty. Billy's the
and
first lefty reliever. Yeah,
yeah, and this is a position created by baseball. That
yeah,
that evolved and became a specialized key thing. I mean, what did we just spend the whole last segment talking about? Basically, the
yeah,
Rangers need a closer, right? We've been saying that all year. So this group needs more recognition when it comes to the Hall of Fame. And as I said yesterday, I will continue to vote for the most deserving closers. I vote for Francisco Rodriguez, for instance, and he's way down there. Billy Wagner started way down, so you slowly have to build your way up, and it may take a while, but eventually the numbers you look at him like, oh yeah, well, if this guy's in the Hall of Fame, this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. And
Yeah.
Wagner's numbers are fantastic, just
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, speaking of the Hall of Fame, Nick Kurt's bat, not surprisingly, from that game, was it the Saturday game in Dakin or Friday, whichever game it was, when he hit the 6 for 6,
This
four
Friday,
bombs? Yeah, it was the Friday
yeah.
game. Unbelievable. I mean, it was, and again, we've seen, you and I were both in Baltimore when Josh Hamilton did a very similar thing. So we've seen what kind of otherworldly, level or trend that is. But it's amazing for a guy this young.
Yeah, rookie, a guy who was in college last year. For him to go out and do that is pretty cool. And I also mentioned this yesterday, but I was able to see clips of the Hamilton 5-homer game today on Twitter, and the couple of funny things. Elvis Andrus scored on every one of them. It was 4 2-run homers that Elvis scored on every one. And for the first 3, he did the exact same. They did the exact same thing. When Josh crossed home plate, Elvis high fived him, turned around, and jogged off. It was like, it was like the same video
Yeah,
almost. You could have
yeah,
just
yeah.
superimposed the first one, and you would have thought it was the other ones. And then the double that he hit in what would have been his third at bat, it actually got closer to going out than I thought.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I remember that.
It hit on the warning track.
Yeah.
And then the last one was against Darren O'Day, who had been with the Rangers just the year before. I remember hearing him after the game be like, "Oh God, I just threw it right down the middle. I can't. That's a terrible pitch." And but right field, left field, center. Pretty good damn day.
Yeah, just amazing. Kurtz, by the way, nicknamed the Big Amish because, like our buddy, he is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Jankowski. All
Yeah,
right.
like our buddy Travis Jankowski, he's from Lancaster, and he is not Amish, but he's got he's embraced the nickname that his teammates gave him, and so
That's pretty
his
funny.
celebration is to churn butter, like the Amish people would be inclined to do.
Well,
So when he hits home
well,
run, his celebration is to churn butter. I don't know how you churn butter, but anyway, that's his celebration. So pretty cool, pretty fun. And his bat goes to the Hall of Fame. He's got his own little display, and he was, needless to say, emotional about it too. In that his stuff's going in on the same weekend that is Hall of Fame weekend. So
yeah.
that's pretty cool. I mean, like surprising, I suppose, but not that the Braves traded for a starting pitcher yesterday in Eric Fetty. It's like, what the hell are you doing, Braves? You just got swept. But the reality is, all 5 of their opening day starters, the guys who were there on, as the starting 5 on opening day, are on the injured list.
Yeah, and they didn't have to give up a ton for him because he would have been
Oh,
released by
no.
the Cardinals, but that just tells you where the Braves are. I mean, that lineup is frightening. It
Yeah.
really is. You look at that lineup and you're like, holy crap, this team's going to just score at will. But then you're like, who the heck is this guy pitching?
Yeah.
And the guy who pitched Saturday, who had Grant Holmes, who had Marcus in the head.
Ooh, yeah.
He had to leave. He left the game with an elbow injury, and he's going on the injured list. So, that's that tells you how thin it is. It's not as bad as the Rangers in 14. That's the worst I've ever seen a team affected by injuries.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty bad, and they're just not a good team. The Braves just aren't a good team.
No, they're not. And let's close with a little talk, because I know you talked to him about Marcus getting hit in the ear
Oh,
flap. And
yeah.
then not only staying in the game, but delivering the game-winning RBI single in extra innings, Jeff. That's one of the most sort of on the baseball field heroic things I've ever seen.
Yeah, and the flap fortunately took the brunt of it,
Yeah.
but it was the front of the flap on the cheekbone. I think the cheekbone got a little, but I mean, you're still talking about 90 miles per hour. It's like, if somebody punches you, even
95.
though you're wearing, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, if you're wearing a parka and a sweatshirt and somebody still punches you really hard in the shoulder, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
And he said after the game that he was tender. He said yesterday morning that it hurt to eat food. He's going to be sore for a few days, but what if it would have been one of those Ozzie Smith helmets with the no ear
Oh,
flaps? He'd be on the injured list.
he'd be broken cheek,
probably
broken jaw.
probably having
Yeah.
surgery. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
yeah.
but for him to get up and stay in the game and really not be even woozy, he passed all the concussion stuff. That's pretty good stroke of fortune.
Yeah, he's an Iron Man. All right, well, that's fun, Jeff. It's good to be back with you, and we'll be back in studio tomorrow before you hit the road. So we'll look forward to that, and we'll keep talking trades. You guys do too. We'll keep talking about the trade deadline. And by the way, if there is a trade, we're doing an emergency pod. So just be ready for that. Tune into us.
Unless they trade for Yosemite Sam again, then no emergency. We're not doing that one.
Oh, I love Jeff's description of Andrew Chafin, Yosemite Sam. All right, no podcast if they're trading for Yosemite Sam, but Foghorn Leghorn, by God, we're in. All right, we'll see you tomorrow on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.